remember seeing this cartoon. It was making its way around social media several months ago. It shows a group of masked stormtroopers at the door. They honestly look like ICE agents. And a man is asking, as he's holding the door open, honey, did you post something negative about the regime? I mean, it was a joke at the time, but now it is really depicting what is happening in real life. Hi, my name is Suri Crow, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. Take a look at this video that was posted by Raquel Pacheco of Miami. It ended up going viral.
Sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present. So I really don't know how to answer that question either
well,
way.
like I said, you're not going to
This is freedom of speech. This is America, right?
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
We're just trying to see if it's you, but if we're not talking to the right person, we want to go see who the right person is.
Okay, how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as,
verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. Even leaves the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you are all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
You don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning for the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Understood.
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about. And we wanted to get your side. If it was you that posted that, I would think to refrain from posting things like that, because that could get something inside.
I appreciate your concern. I appreciate you coming out here.
Okay?
That's it?
That is it.
Okay.
I'm going to maintain my amendment rights to not answer the question about whether or not that's right. I hope that's understandable.
We appreciate it.
Thank you as well.
All right. Pacheco posted a critical but non-threatening comment about Miami Beach Mayor Stephen Miner on Facebook. Miner, who is Jewish, is a staunch supporter of Israel's war on Gaza. And he has used his office to clamp down on pro-Palestinian speech. Pacheco, who has run for public office herself, has called Mayor Reiner out for his hypocritical comments when he claims that Miami is a safe haven for everyone. And it was because of her criticism that led the Miami police chief to send detectives to her door, to her private residence. Well, even Fox's uber right-wing Will Cain got an earful about just how wrong this was.
First Amendment has very few narrow exceptions, and none of them apply here. Ms. Pacheco didn't make a threat of physical violence, and her speech is far from the legal threshold for incitement, which requires a call for others to engage in unlawful action immediately, and that they actually be likely to do it. It can't just be speculation that speech might sometimes, somewhere, at some point in the future, cause somebody to do something illegal. So, all she did wasn't express an opinion about a mayor. She characterized his views. And he has other options other than deploying the police. And one thing he can and did do is use his own much larger platform to respond to her comments and, correct her in any way that he thought that they were misguided or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, just a gross violation of First Amendment rights. Ridiculous. Well, Pacheco has retained legal counsel, and she says that, if this could happen to her, because she's a fairly well-known figure in the Miami area, she's concerned about what it means for just everyday regular citizens. And this is just one of many instances where right-wing government officials, most notably the Trump regime, have used the cover of anti-Semitism to arrest people for simply exercising their First Amendment rights. I mean, remember all of the BS that was going on at Columbia and elsewhere, where the Trump regime was like, oh, it's anti-Semitism. No, what they're doing is they're clamping down on our First Amendment, our freedom of speech rights, okay? But there are also other instances where alleged law enforcement agents are showing up at private citizens' doors. Take a look at this clip.
You don't you don't want to perceive any ill will towards these people, let alone what you're saying.
Yeah, I want to see your trials.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No problem. Do you go to a lot of the any demonstrations at all or things like that?
Why do you want to know that?
I'm just curious. For certain questionnaires we have to answer.
Sorry, I don't want to answer that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Do you have any weapons in the house at all?
No.
Just curious. Okay. Have you traveled to any functions, Democrat, Republican, any sides? Any kind of rallies or anything like that?
I just answered that question.
Okay.
So I
You don't want to
answer.
talk. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Anything else you want to tell me about any other statements at all?
No.
Okay.
What do you consider crossing the line on social media?
It's a very good question. I mean, so technically, obviously, you have freedom of speech, right? Everybody has that.
Mm-hmm.
Crossing the line is when you're going like a direct threat, like I will go kill the president, or statements like that, right? So those are obviously different threshold. You know what I mean? And we usually present those to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Something like this, veiled threat. It's is it a threatening nature? Now that I know that you didn't mean anything by it, it's basically a non-issue, right? So it'll basically end here. I'll go back, read my report.
Okay, so what can I do about the people on social media that threaten me in my home?
I would write to the local police and make a report. Any other suggestions on that? Are you being threatened by other people?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay. No.
All the time, but I'm not going to shut up.
No, and again, you have the right to say that as long as they're not threatening nature.
Yeah, I've never said anything about killing anybody.
Okay. So again, what you meant with this was, again, tell me one more time?
Like the trials, the Nuremberg trials. Like, when all this shit is over, I want to see all of them go to trial. And I want it to be televised.
Okay.
So I can watch it.
Okay. All right. That's all I'm looking for. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your time.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Have a good one.
I mean, that was just crazy. All right. Like, do you travel to rallies? Anything else you're doing? Do you have any weapons in the house? Okay. I have tried to find out who the original poster was of that video. It was going kind of viral. I think I found it on Threads. I could not find the original poster. If you know who it is, please let me know. But whoever this man purports to be, people were saying that it was an alleged Secret Service agent. I don't know. Typically federal agents, even under this crazy clown show of a Trump regime, FBI or Secret Service, federal agents tend to show up in a very specific look, which is definitely not a t-shirt and a puffer jacket. And also, I mean, I'm just going to be real. Most federal agents, at least heretofore, are very fit. He just doesn't fit the look of a federal law enforcement agent. I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, who knows who the Trump regime is hiring now? Probably not to the level that they were in the past. But regardless, like, this woman and her partner should have not answered any of his questions the way they were. Like, she's like, no, we don't have any weapons, or like, no, do not let him in. Do not answer those questions. Americans are protected under our First and Fourth Amendment rights, which means absent a warrant, consent, or exigent circumstances, law enforcement has no right to enter a home, and individuals are generally within their rights to ask for a warrant and decline entry. You do not have to even identify yourself or answer any questions unless you are lawfully detained. And that is defined as law enforcement having a reasonable, articulable suspicion based on specific facts to detain you that a person is engaged in, has engaged in, or is about to engage in criminal activity. For example, I'll just think domestic violence situations. I've been to many of those as a field reporter, where there's, like, let's say, a man with his partner, his domestic partner, and they've got children in the home, and he's holding them hostage, and he's got a firearm, a weapon, and he's threatening to harm them, or he already has. That is a prime example of law enforcement having reasonable, articulable suspicion to lawfully detain somebody because he is has engaged in criminal activity and is presenting imminent harm to that mom and the small children and perhaps surrounding neighbors. See, that's a huge difference. That's a massive leap between somebody posting a critical comment on social media, which is protected under our freedom of speech constitutional rights. See the massive difference? My God. And as a practical matter, you can ask, law enforcement? Am I being detained? Do you have a warrant? And may I choose to remain silent and request legal counsel? And if they can't answer any of those questions, then zip it. You don't have to say anything. In fact, don't. That is how you protect yourself in these situations. Like, do not be answering questions. No, we don't have any. You don't know who that guy is. Maybe he's some weirdo and MAGA stalker. I don't know. Maybe he's not. But do not open the door to strange people and give them your personal business. My God. I'm sorry. People are too trusting. And I just also want to give a quick shout out to Rachel Brenke. She's been really helpful in help. She's kind of like my own legal advisor. Give her a follow online. She does a really terrific job of breaking legalese down into practical matters. And I know you can follow her on Threads and I think on Instagram as well. I also just want to add, it's really important to make sure that anyone who is showing up at your door and claiming to be law enforcement identifies themselves as legitimate agents.
The FBI is warning people about other people impersonating ICE agents to commit violent crimes. In a bulletin, the Bureau cites several examples in which criminals have targeted victims while identifying themselves as immigration agents and wearing shirts or jackets with the ICE label. There have been reports of threats, robberies, kidnappings, and sexual assaults. The FBI bulletin says the impersonation scams make it difficult for the community to distinguish between legitimate and illegitimate immigration enforcement practices.
Generally speaking, law enforcement typically shows up in pairs or more. They identify themselves with a card, a badge, and you have every right to call their supervisors, their office, their police stations to verify that they were sent out. You do not open your door to strangers if you don't know that they were coming in advance or if you cannot verify that they were sent there. Case in point, in Minnesota, remember that Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, and their precious dog Gilbert were murdered by a man pretending to be law enforcement in the middle of the night who came pounding on their door with lights, a fake police car, and he murdered them in their own home. Police investigators say that Vance Bolter disguised himself as a police officer, had a hit list of Democratic elected officials, and went from house to house with the intent to murder them. He also shot and wounded John and Yvette Hoffman. So, this is really scary stuff, people. We can't trust our government. The nonstop violence that we're seeing from these ICE goons who are not following the rule of law whatsoever, the total disregard of the law by the Trump regime. The president himself is a convicted felon who has no care for the rule of law. But, we can't just roll over and let them stomp on the Constitution. So it is more important than ever to know what your rights are. I mean, I think a lot of people just don't pay attention, but more important than ever to know what your rights are, to recite them. Okay. And, now we have the Department of Homeland Security trying to just blow over our Fourth Amendment protections by saying that ICE agents do not need a signed judicial warrant to just barge into people's private homes, which is insane. That is insane. And that certainly is going to be challenged in courts if it isn't already. I mean, to just say that they can just blow into people's homes without a judicial warrant, that goes against even repeated Supreme Court rulings. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes with this particular court, but that is unconstitutional as of this moment. So again, even as this regime is intent on stomping on our rights, it doesn't mean that we make it easy for them. Okay. So know what your rights are. And I know in these incredibly trying times, it's really hard to keep it together. So take a break, give yourself a hug. And courage is contagious. That's why we got to stick together, because I know this is really hard. This is super flipping hard, but little bits. We can do this. We're going to get through this. I don't know how. I honestly don't, but this is just hopefully helpful information for you guys. All right. Please follow me on my socials below, particularly Instagram and Substack, where I am digging into some interesting investigations. Those are the two platforms I'd really like to see you on, but follow me on all of them. And I will see you back here soon. Namaste.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.